This is from Dr. Alam Shah Iskandar. Maybe we can ask Dr. Hakam or anyone from our speakers.
Ya, baik Profesor.
Thank
Jadi
you.
ada tiga hal yang bisa yang membuat angka kasus di Kota Semarang ini turun dengan drastis ya. Jadi dari apa yang tadi saya sampaikan, yang pertama adalah penilaian ABC dari atau PSN yang sangat sangat efektif di masyarakat. Karena apa? Didampingi oleh para kader, kemudian teman-teman di puskesmas di lapangan. Kemudian kita libatkan dengan lintas sektor dari mulai sekda, camat, lurah sampai di tingkat bawah. Ini juga kita hadirkan. Kemudian itu semuanya kita kolaborasikan dengan aplikasi yang namanya Tunggal Darah. Karena apa? Seluruhnya bisa terlibat di sana. Dan seberapa efektif? Sangat efektif, Prof. Jadi kalau tadi kita lihat dari 2005 atau mungkin dari 2007 ke 2011, itu angkanya tinggi, kemudian 2011 turun. Dan memang sekarang ini pada waktu 2020, 2021, angka kejadiannya tetap ada, tapi kita bisa tekan. Karena apa? Kita bisa prediksi. Jadi mungkin kalau bisa dikatakan 80% dengan program ini itu bisa sukses.
I will answer I will translate the answer from Dr. Hakam for the question. We have three points that make the dengue disease in Semarang decrease rapidly. And the first one is the effective collaboration from the public health office and with the NGOs, as well as in involving the society to in terms of a very effective collaboration being supported by the Tunggal Darah application as well. And it's being proven that through 2020 until 21, we still have patients for the dengue disease, but we managed to predict it and managed to control it in effective way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hakam. And also, we would like to acknowledge and thanks also our lady interpreter. There's another question from Dr. Ida Safitri Laksono. There's high appreciation to major and all stakeholders in Semarang City. What is the key success that Tunggal Darah could be maintained? How big is support from universities? Dr. Hakam, this is for you again.
Ya, memang kami memang didukung oleh akademisi ya, dari beberapa akademisi yang ada di Kota Semarang, seperti Undip, kemudian dari akademisi yang lain, tentunya teman-teman sejawat dari Karyadi, ada Prof. Husen Gasem yang luar biasa, guru kami yang selalu membimbing kami juga untuk mensupport, kemudian memberikan nasihat bagaimana cara-caranya untuk menekan kasus ini. Kemudian tidak hanya itu ya, dari Tunggal Darah ini akhirnya kecepatan di dalam melakukan pencegahan atau edukasi ke masyarakat itu lebih efektif dibandingkan kalau kita itu manual. Bayangkan saja kalau misalnya ditemukan di tingkat vaskes, di puskesmas atau di rumah sakit, kemudian itu laporan segera dalam waktu 1 kali 24 jam itu sudah kita ketahui, maka harapannya di dalam PE-nya untuk pengamatan epidemiologinya itu bisa dijalankan secara cepat dan bisa ditanggulangi.
Of course, we have tremendous support from the academician in Semarang, especially from Diponegoro University and as well from the Karyadi Hospital, Professor Hussein, that we receive advice and input so that the Tunggal Darah system could be more effective in socializing education compared to the manual ways in educating the people in terms of dengue disease. That report could be being managed and being overseas in 24 hours after the data collected. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So questions are now coming in. There is another question from Dr. Hindra Irawan Satari. In the text slide, Dr. Hakam, I think this is also from you, for you. In the text slide from Simarang, it's written that the problem is scarlet fever. Could you give us about the situation, or it should be written dengue fever?
Memang situasi sekarang di 2020 kemudian di 2021 ya, dengan adanya pandemi ini kadang-kadang ada kasus yang saling berkaitan. Jadi ada kasus dengan dengue murni, ada kasus yang kombinasi dengan COVID-19, tapi memang jumlahnya tidak banyak. Yang paling banyak memang dia berdiri sendiri, dengue murni gitu. Tapi ini angkanya memang benar-benar bisa kita tekan karena ya itu tadi sistemnya sudah terbangun dengan baik, masyarakatnya sudah terpola dengan sangat baik.
In terms of the current situation, we still have the dengue cases that in a natural way, in terms that is not being an effect with the COVID-19 patients, but we still have cases naturally the dengue itself. But after the launching of the Tunggal Dara program and the spread of awareness and educational program to society, we managed to reach an effective way in control it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Another question from Dr. Kien Kok Du. My apologies if it's not correctly said. So the question is, why is dengue cases increasing with COVID-19 in many countries, for example, in Indonesia, but the others are not? Maybe we can ask Dr. Chara. I think this is for you.
Okay, I will try to answer it. But let me clarify the question first. Is it the question is related to the other diseases that is not increasing, or the other countries? Please clarify, because I cannot answer for the situation of other countries. But if it's for Indonesia, actually, even the dengue cases during the pandemic, the number of the reported cases within the same periods with previous years were a bit decreasing compared to the previous years before the pandemic. Maybe I missed it in my presentation. I forgot to mention it. So the number is still high, but if we compare the number of cases of dengue in the same period in the previous years and with the period during the pandemic, it is lower. The number of cases is lower, and we still need to explore why that happened. Is that really because of the cases is decreasing, or underreported, or underdiagnosis, or yeah, we need to explore the cause or the facts more on that.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Yes.
Sorry.
But both cases do happen, dengue and COVID-19, because maybe I add more that in previous webinars, still in relation with dengue and COVID-19, there was also a question from a journalist that he or she read a news that somewhere in Southern America, that there was a study saying that where dengue cases is high, then COVID-19 will not be high, something like that. And it doesn't happen in Indonesia. Yeah, it didn't happen in Indonesia. We have both COVID-19, we have also dengue cases. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chara. Actually, we also are seeing the same situation in the Philippines. Last year, there were not much cases, but right now there's quite an increasing number of co-infection of dengue and COVID-19. Okay, thank you. So our next, there's another question from Dr. Hendra Irawan Satari. is it possible to adopt Tunggal Dara to manage COVID also? So this is for you, Dr. Hakam. Is it possible to
Okay.
adopt Tunggal Dara to manage
Possible.
COVID?
Very possible. Sangat bisa untuk penyakit atau untuk COVID-19 ini.
It is possible to adapt Tunggal Dara system for the COVID-19 as well.
Karena ya memang dari sisi epidemiologi, kemudian tracking, kemudian untuk tata laksananya dari mulai pasien itu ditemukan di puskesmas ataupun dari rumah sakit, kemudian kita punya yang namanya one data atau satu data di dalam server itu teman-teman melakukan input data, sehingga teman-teman nantinya di puskesmas melakukan tracking dan Jogo Tonggo, Jogo Rondo, atau Kampung Siaga Candi Hebat ini akhirnya bisa melakukan isolasi mandiri di rumah, memberikan semangat untuk memberikan untuk melindungi para masyarakat yang terkonfirmasi yang pada saat itu dia isolasi di dalam rumah.
It is possible because we have the same system in terms of tracking and collecting data, since we also have a program called One Data. So in one server, we have the patient's record in terms of various information. We have also have the public health office managed to adapt in the tracking system through a community partnership with the society in the environment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Actually, there's a question for Professor Utama. Professor, you mentioned about in your article about genotype of dengue, and there's like growing mutations. What is its importance when until present we have all the 4 serotypes present a similar clinical manifestations?
Okay, thank you for the question. For the serotype and related to clinical manifestation, we find that severe manifestation mostly in the serotype then 1 and serotype then 3. As we know, both of the serotype most common we find in our study, and then we continue the study of genotyping of the serotype that we find that I said before. There are cosmopolitan, genotype 1, and the others. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So actually, we have, there are no more questions. There were several, but it was answered directly by our speakers. We have, actually, it's now just 3 minutes left, and I will be ending the session. So I would like to thank our Professor Aman Pulungan for this session hosted by the Indonesian Pediatric Society. This is really a great session. And also we would like to acknowledge our speakers for giving us informative, exciting presentations. Professor Dr. Chara, Dr. Utama, and Professor Muhammad Hakam. So thank you so much. So we would like to thank our attendees or participants. You know, it's Sunday. It's supposed to be a family day or a relaxation day, but still here you are with us. But I know that you are thankful that this is a very informative session. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to everyone.